Welcome to Facts and Firearms, which today is going to be facts, firearms, and some opinion. For those I haven't met, my name is Massad Ayoob. Excuse me. I've been teaching deadly force and weapons since 1972, and have been an expert witness for the courts in weapons cases and particularly self-defense homicides since 1979. That's given me a little better perspective than average on just how these things go in all three of the courts that you have to worry about. People focus primarily on criminal court. Will I be charged or, God forbid, convicted over defending myself? They look next at civil court, the sometimes inevitable lawsuit that results from any cataclysmic use of force. A whole lot of people ignore that third court, the court of public opinion, the world you and your family are going to have to go back to after the justice system itself has determined that your act of self-defense was reasonable. When one of these cases comes up and you see it on TV or in the newspaper, look at each side before you decide. Let me give you a classic example of that. I'm going to read you two possible headlines that could evolve out of a shooting case. Police rescue black child from abduction by armed sexual assault suspect. If that involves shooting the suspect, does that sound like it's probably going to be what they call colloquially a good shoot? Let's look at the next headline. White officer shoots unarmed black man 7 times in the back. Society hears that, they see that in the newspaper, and their reaction is, ah! And there's the automatic assumption that if it's in the newspaper, it must be true. Doesn't necessarily work that way. Both of the headlines I just read to you might well have come, one did come, from the same case. Let's go back to August 23rd, 2020, Kenosha, Wisconsin. The emergency dispatch gets a call of a domestic disturbance involving a certain individual. As police respond, they are advised that the individual in question has a warrant out for felony third-degree sexual assault. They arrive at the residence. The subject is outside, putting a little kid in the back of a car that is not his. They attempt to interdict. The subject violently resists arrest, overcomes every attempt with non-lethal weapons to restrain him, draws a knife, and starts moving from the right rear of the vehicle around to the driver's side as if to drive away. The police, of course, draw their guns, follow him, and this now is being recorded on the cell phone of an uninvolved bystander. As they round the vehicle and get to the driver's door, the suspect, who is holding a knife in his left hand, opens the door as if to get in the car and drive away with the child. The child's mother is screaming, "That's my kid. He has the keys," because it's not his car and he doesn't have permission to use it. Officer Rustin Shesky is standing at approximately 4 o'clock to the suspect. If I am the suspect, whose name was Jacob Blake, and I am at the door, Blake had the knife in his left hand. Officer Shesky was at approximately a 4 o'clock position to him. Suddenly, Blake starts to turn, moving toward the officer as if to thrust and stab. He's easily within reach of doing so. And the officer, for a little over a second, fires his service pistol. 7 rounds are fired before the man collapses and drops the knife, at which time, of course, the officer ceases fire. The first headline would have been the one that was absolutely correct. The second, however, was the one that was put forth by people who had certain social interests and, let's face it, certain monetary interests. Not until 5 days later did the police union call a press conference and say, look, here's what's really happened. By that time, their truth was absolutely drowned in the tsunami of the fake news of the unarmed man being shot by police for no reason because he was, the shooting officer must have been a racist. That was the incident that triggered the riot in Kenosha. The city burned. In the course of that violent civil disturbance, the Rittenhouse case took place. 3 men shot, 2 of them fatally. And Rittenhouse, in a very high-profile trial, ultimately acquitted of all counts. And I believe in Rittenhouse's case, the acquittal was absolutely the correct verdict based upon the evidence. The officer was cleared in an official investigation. The state attorney general gave a press conference explaining in detail why the officer had been cleared, why the shooting of Jacob Blake, who ended up paralyzed from the waist down and losing a substantial part of his intestinal tract, was in fact justified. Yet after that press conference, the lawyer for Mr. Blake and his family called a press conference and still said, unarmed man shot in the back. Because of the positioning, 3 of the 7 bullets had struck in the side and 4 behind lateral midline, ergo the shot on the back. We see this again and again. Every cop and every attorney is taught in the police academy or in law school, we don't try our cases in the press. It will all come out in court. And that worked fine back when both sides abided by the treaty. When one side comes out with, in my opinion, a false narrative of the case, and the other side does not present the truth, what the hell do you think is going to be the public's reaction? And remember, that public includes the jury pool that will ultimately judge you if you were the one who was forced to pull the trigger. At that time, it was 2020, Joe Biden was running for president. He said, I believe I'm quoting exactly, "These shots pierced the heart of our nation." Those shots kept a man from stabbing a cop to death, kept a sexual assault suspect from kidnapping a child in a stolen car. That was the reality. We see this again and again in the controversial shootings, and the lesson is, before we form our opinions, we've got to get both sides of the story. The other lesson is, if the other side does come out, if the accusing side, criminal, civil, or political, comes out with a false accusation against you, it's critical that the defense speak out and get the truth out. A truth unspoken is a truth unheard. And a false allegation that is not denied, a false allegation met with silence, historically, people see that silence as an admission of guilt. When you're the one involved, make sure you have someone who will speak for you and speak as loudly to the media, who serve the public, where you and your family are going to have to live hereafter. And when you are the one watching TV, don't formulate your opinion until you've seen all the facts. Your comments, as always, are welcome here. We invite you to subscribe and to ring the bell so we can notify you of future content. Thanks for listening. Stay safe.